This is the Analysing Anfield podcast on the Blood Red channel, bringing you the best tactical and statistical analysis of Liverpool FC.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest edition of Analysing Anfield. I'm Josh Williams and I'm joined as ever by David Hughes. How are you getting on, mate?
Yeah, okay, mate. I'm getting accustomed to this staying in all day, every day malarkey. Yeah, I know what I was thinking yesterday. I haven't worn a pair of jeans in about 2.5 weeks.
One thing I've realised, I'm gradually realising it every single day, and I'll probably use this actually as a segue to explain why for the YouTube audience we're not currently recording. Not blaming anyone, but I think it's Dave's fault that his camera isn't working today. So we're audio only today. But if you could see me, you'd realise that I've got a wig like Mo Salah at the minute. I think I'm about 6 weeks without a cut. I was getting a bit out of hand. I haven't gone down the buzz cut route yet. Just shaving all my hair off.
Know what, mate? I'm just going to embrace growing, man. To be honest, I'm going to see how it goes over the next few months and see how far I get.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to hopefully go down the route of Alisson or something, but you never know, do you?
Yeah, we haven't got a choice anyway, have we? So we better get used to it.
No. So anyway, this week's episode, again, trying to mix it up, trying to keep it fresh. The Watchables episode, which we're going to keep doing every other week, I think. But rather than doing it every single week, we thought we'd mix it up this week. So what we've done is a bit of an alternative type episode and transfer special. So those that are interested in transfer moves, this is one for you, I suppose. So what we're going to do is, obviously Liverpool aren't going to sell Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino, Mohamed Salah all on the same summer or whatever. So what we're going to do, we're going to try and replicate Liverpool's front three and the dynamic that it offers, as though Mane, Firmino and Salah didn't really exist. So if we was to recreate Liverpool's front three now for Liverpool, but without those three players available. So I've picked two options for each player, and Dave has done the same. I have no clue what Dave's picked. Dave has no clue what I've picked. Hopefully we haven't just picked the same player for every single position, because
it could be a short show if it is.
Yeah, definitely. And we've also looked at transfers that are a bit more likely. So a rotation or an alternative option for Divock Origi, who may be sold, we never know. An alternative option for Xherdan Shaqiri, who again may be sold. So just a little bit of background in terms of the dynamic that Liverpool's front three offer. It's not just the fact that they're all good players or whatever. It's a specific tactical dynamic. So you've got Roberto Firmino in the centre, who's naturally inclined to retreat into midfield. And then that only works because either side of him, you've got two wide forwards, both of whom are inclined to cut inside on their favoured foot and drive towards goal to actually deliver the goals. So it's a very specific dynamic there that we want to recreate. So I've give Dave some very specific, but not too many, criteria that we have to meet. So for Mane, which we'll start now with Mane. The player has to be right-footed and he has to be under the age of 26, because when we signed Mane, I think he was 24. When we signed Firmino, 23, and when we signed Salah, I think he was 25. So go on, Dave. You can start.
Hey, mate. Previously we've done episodes like this, and I've kind of gone in with a mad one early doors, and I think I'm just going to go a little bit more steady to start us off. But still,
I will say I've gone fully down the Michael Edwards route. I've done it full, like as though I was in charge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So this player I'm flagging is someone that everybody listening will know and may even raise a few eyebrows, but you just show it really well. And it's Diogo Jota at Wolves.
Okay.
I've basically come to this basically all the selections have come. I've looked at players across the previous 12 months, all senior competitions who've played upwards of 1,400 minutes. and I've selected some key areas where I think are quite relevant in terms of Mane. So, although we can focus on things such as goals, and we might touch on them per player, I haven't touched on that too much. I've looked more, expected numbers. So I've looked at XG per 90, shots per 90, shots on target, percentage, dribbles, of course, success rate in those dribbles, expected assists, and I've also put in there successful defensive actions as well, just because I think Liverpool's from three do plenty of that. And one of the players who shows quite well is Diogo Jota. He's got a similar XG to Mane per 90, slightly more shots, a similar area in terms of shots on target, more dribbles actually. Even though it's
I was
slightly
quite surprised once I seen his dribbling numbers. Actually, he dribbled quite well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I've got down as around 7.9 per 90, which is, well, you'll know, is quite high, isn't it?
And attempts all completed.
So that's attempts, but it's still a success rate of around 45%, which, you're saying, what, just under 4 successful dribbles per 90? I think that's pretty impressive. And then successful defensive actions per 90, 2.6, and Mane's normally around 2.5. So there's a lot more similarities between the two than perhaps people might expect.
Yeah, I mean, interesting little shout there. I have went down a bit of a more obvious route, I would say. I could come out with some, I suppose deeper alternative routes that maybe a few listeners won't be aware of, but I think I've just tried to really try to offer a proper insight into who Liverpool might fully sign, and that reached a level where I think it's quite obvious in certain areas at least. So my first option, I will say as well that most of my suggestions here, if listeners of the show every single week will know virtually all of them, because I've mentioned some of these names pretty much in every episode. Well, not in every episode, every now and then say. So first option anyway, Jadon Sancho, obviously. Now I appreciate this is supposed to be like a bit deeper and stuff like that, but I just don't think you can look past certain players like this. I think it's very obvious that Liverpool are going to be at least interested in this player. He turned 20 last week, English, homegrown, fits the right-footed criteria. His contract expires in 2 years, so usually once you get down to the final 2 years, you start to become available, sort of thing. He's not particularly lightning quick, but he's quick enough. Very unpredictable on the ball, and I think another skill of his is that his output doesn't seem to diminish if you move him to the right side. Now I know this is for Mane, but it's obviously very helpful if you can have a player that can play on either flank and it doesn't really affect them. 17 goals this season, 19 assists, so that's a goal or an assist every 75 minutes. Again at the age of 20. Just over 2 shots per 90 and about 2 shots assisted per 90. So his creation and his actual shooting, his actual scoring is quite balanced, 50-50 there. Downsides, he completes about 48 passes per 90, and that's quite a lot for an attacking player. That's around the level of Coutinho, I think, and I think Klopp was quite pleased when we sold Coutinho in the regard of getting rid of a ball dominant player almost. Mane, for example, completes 28 per 90. So Sancho about 20 passes more there, and I just think when you've got a player who's inclined to see a lot of the ball, you become a bit more predictable and stuff like that. And obviously the massive caveats that I've got to add in now, and this is probably why he's not going to be signed. He's obviously massively overpriced. I think he's going to cost about 120 million or something like that, but I wanted to do it as though, if this was a shadow squad and Sadio Mane didn't exist and we had to get the next Sadio Mane in, for me it's quite obvious that it'd be Jadon Sancho.
I mean, you can't do this kind of show and not include them, especially when there's Liverpool now in a position where they could realistically attract these sorts of players. I suppose then I'm maybe working as the counterbalance to that. Because my next
That's probably a good thing, because we'd have the same player for everyone. Otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's worked out quite well. So yeah, this player I knew very little about until basically I've come across him with a data search, and then just had a little look into him. But it's a player called Florinel Coman. He's 21 years old, plays for Starkbrook Arrest. He looks really good, really exciting. And actually, I did notice when I was looking into him that he's been linked with a few Premier League clubs just over the last few weeks. So likes of Chelsea and West Ham. But it's easy to see why. I mean, just an important caveat to note is he's playing in the Romanian Premier League. But what I will say is that's not that unusual considering that's his birth country. So he's obviously come through the ranks there. So, he's still just 21. There's probably a big move on the horizon, but he's taken 3.5 shots per 90. He's playing out on the left, similar to Mane, but right-footed, likes to cut in. About 40% of those shots hit the target. He's got an XG of 0.33, and he's scoring around 0.4 per 90. So he's overperforming against his XG, but a healthy amount, I'd say. He's an old who dribbles a lot more than Mane does. He dribbles 7.5 per 90, a 60% dribble success rate as well. Expected assists, he's 0.2 per 90. So, I mean, you're looking at really, really good numbers there. And even with a subsequent, drop in terms of playing in a much harsher environment of somewhere like the Premier League, I mean, it still has potential to be a really good output. So he's maybe one to keep an eye on over the next, year or so. And, potentially we don't expect Mane to go anywhere over the next year. So he could kind of be a player to burst on the scene over the next 12 months.
Yeah. I mean, I think I got his name right. But he's not. I don't think he's a player I've heard of, actually. Unless he was a player who... once I saw his name written down, it maybe, twig something in my head. But other than that, It doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, no, he's as I said, he seems relatively unknown, but he seems like one of those players that's potentially on the cusp of becoming quite relevant over the next 12 months.
Yeah. So my second option, again, just completely obvious. It's the easiest player in the front three for me to replace Sadio Mane. And that's no dig on Mane. That's just because there's you get quite a few quality right-footed attackers of that type. So next one, obvious, just Timo Werner. I've mentioned him a lot of times. 24 years old, right-footed. Unlike Sancho, he's lightning quick, but still got a degree of unpredictability on the ball. And unlike Sancho, he's capable through the middle. Able to stretch the defence and that sort of thing. 27 goals, 12 assists. So that's a scoring contribution roughly every 72.6 minutes. Lots of shots, about 3.8 per 90. That's about the same as Mo Salah. But he doesn't generate as much for others. 1.2 shots assisted per 90. But I suppose the downside in comparison to the man I've also mentioned earlier is that Werner's 4 years older than Sancho. But the slightly different pros and cons, but at the same time they're very similar too. So I've been asked a few times who would I rather over, Sancho or Werner, and I can't really answer it, to be honest. They're both too good, while also being slightly different and stuff like that. But I think the massive thing in Werner's camp that I'm about to mention now, and it's why for me he probably fit in my team, he'd probably be my version of Mane, is because he's relatively affordable. He'd probably be about half the price of Sancho, and I don't think Sancho is double a player, so Werner would probably be my Mane.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them, isn't it? People ask you that question, and in reality, it's either, isn't it? You take either of them, but I definitely think for things beyond on the pitch, I think Timo Werner does make maybe a little bit more sense, or you can make a case for it at least a little bit more sense from a Liverpool point of view.
Yeah, I think that off the pitch, I think Sancho's obviously got the English and homegrown thing in his camp, and he's younger, but in terms of value, you're getting so much more value for Werner if you're getting him for half price.
Yeah, you're right, mate.
So go on. Roberto Firmino. So again, the player must be at least 26. Must be under 26. Sorry. And in terms of the preferred fuss, it doesn't matter as much with Firmino with this one.
Yeah. So again, I tried to hone in on things similar to Mane, but a little bit more specific to Firmino's role. So Firmino. Yeah, go on.
I'm going to say, do you think? Because this is what I found, at least, in terms of replacing Firmino.
I know what you're going to say.
You're looking less at the numbers and more at the clips.
Yeah, because a lot of his stuff, what Firmino does well, isn't really quantifiable in numbers, is it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was hard, but even with the numbers, I found he was really difficult to replace. It was very much a case of trying to I had to loosen the parameters a lot more with him than I did with the other two players. And then, yeah, as you say, you'd have to a little bit more eye test. But a player I do want to flag, and he's not an unknown quantity, but he's someone I like, and, someone who potentially could do that role would be Federico Chiesa at Fiorentina. Chiesa, sorry. I think he's a really good player. I'm pretty sure he's still only 22, but he offers a fair bit more. Maybe in an attacking sense, he's averaging around 3.5 shots per 90. Firmino's normally somewhere around the 2.5. He dribbles a lot more than he does, but he has marginally fewer touches in the box, around 4.4 compared to Firmino, who averages well over 5. And noticeably, he also has fewer passes. Firmino's quite heavily involved in build-up play, as we know, so he's normally around the 33 passes per 90 mark. But he's got around 3.2 passes into the penalty area per 90. That's normally around 2. He drops off quite well to link the play, and he's got a good goal return as well, just over 0.2 per 90. So he's a player I really like, and someone I think could. I mean, I don't think you're ever going to get a carbon copy of Firmino, but he's certainly someone who's close to that.
Yeah, he's I think a lad DM'd me during the week, actually. Just speaking about the show and stuff like that, and I think I called Firmino a unicorn to him. Just because he is quite a rare profile, isn't he, in terms of being such a delicate player in possession, but then without the ball, he's quite relentless.
Yeah, pretty much. That's something I just want to flag as well. Obviously, it was important I included this successful defensive actions per 90 with Firmino as well, because that's a kind of big part of his game. And Chiesa showed up really well there. I think Firmino's about 2.9 successful defensive actions per 90, and he's 2.3, so not a million miles apart. Yeah.
So, yeah, Firmino, difficult player to place. And what I mentioned before in terms of not relying as much on numbers is because Klopp's wide forwards tend to be the real output players, really. Whereas Firmino's more of a... he basically provides the glue in the final third. All about his first touch, his awareness of what's going on around him, feeding other players, timing and all things like that you can't really quantify, as Dave said. So I was looking for players that just, neat passing, smart passes, good spatial awareness, constantly scanning the areas around them, feeding other players. So I'll start with a bit of an alternative choice. He's not on number 9. But the reason, in fact, neither of my players are. But the reason I went for these two is because Firmino wasn't really, but he's kind of just assumed a role under Klopp. In that, like it still works because he spends so much time in the number 10 space. So number one for me, well, not number one, just my first option, Buendia. Obviously, we've spoken about him a few times, Norwich. But he's 23 years old, and he's, well, on the verge, really, of suffering relegation, which should technically make him a bit attainable. If you watch him play, very, very creative, just naturally, good in small spaces, good first touch, constantly aware of what's going on around him. Usually his first touch puts him in a more progressive position than before. He's got good output in terms of performance numbers between both boxes. We will get to the fact that he hasn't scored a goal all season. So obviously, he falls short in the output regard there.
I was wondering how you're going to balance that, to be honest.
Yeah, well, he put it this way, he's fifth in the division, and this is for all players to have played over 1,500 minutes. He's fifth for shots assisted per 90, and that's playing for the team that are 20th. And I think the players he's behind, I'll have a look in a sec, but I think the players he's behind are the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and probably Trent Alexander-Arnold in there. I think James Maddison was in there, but takes plenty of set pieces, and so he's just a naturally creative player. And he's fourth by the same metric. Not by the same metric, by the same values in terms of 1,500 minutes played, through passes per 90 completed. And obviously, if you've got Salah and Mane in front of you running behind, being able to execute through passes well is obviously a very valuable trait. Downsides, his contract currently runs until 2024. That's another 4 years. So obviously Norwich are in no rush to sell him. And obviously, as I've just said, he hasn't scored all season. The reason I'm not too concerned about that is because Firmino's primary role doesn't really, I mean, it sounds stupid to say your number 9 isn't really too fussed on scoring, but I'd say his responsibility is like finding the net is almost a bonus for him, as mad as that sounds. And I think Buendia, if he was playing for Liverpool, he'd naturally score more than 0. I think that's just quite a little bit of an anomaly almost. Another downside, he's only 5'7". I think I'd want my Firmino type to be a bit taller than that, a bit more physical than that. But having said that, he's quite aggressive though. I think his defensive numbers are really good actually, if you have a look at them. And final obvious downside is that he's unfamiliar with playing as the most advanced central player, as a number 9, but a false 9 type. But I'm sure that, as was the case with Firmino, he'd be able to get used to that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good show. So my next name, really,
your second option,
is I need to explain this one once I've said it, but I've gone with Jonathan Ikone at Lille. Now the reason I say I need to explain is he can have a tendency to feature out wide, but he also comes. He basically features across various parts of the front three. He's really fluid in doing so. I think Firmino does that quite well. But he will quite often lead the line and drop into like the number 10 area. Lincoln Play does it really well. He's also not a huge output player, shall we say. I think he's got combined around 7 goals and 7 assists this season. But if we have a look at it over the 12-month period, he's got an XG of just below 0.2. His dribbles of just below 7 per 90. But then he's involved a lot more in play. Passes per 90, we've got just under 30. I think Firmino's around 33 per 90. Firmino is around just over 0.1 second assists per 90, which is obviously the assist before the assist. And Kone's got 0.1, so he's fairly close in that regard. And it's around just over 3 passes into the penalty area per 90. So what I'd say was he isn't so much as a huge output player in terms of goals, or even to an extent direct assists. He doesn't take a ton of shots either, 1.6 per 90, but he does seem to just have that ability to kind of roam around the final third. He can lead a line, but he can also drop in to collect possession and link other players around him. And as I said, I don't think he's an obvious standout candidate, but I think when you just look at it at a little bit more of like a granular level and a little bit below the surface, then you can kind of see how he may be suitable to that role.
Yeah. Interesting shout. Just a little bit more on Buendia there. By the way, Premier League this season, minimum of 1,000 minutes played, and this is including all strikers, wide midfielders, wide forwards, and number 10s. Buendia, out of a select group of 57 players, that includes Buendia's top for defensive duels per 90, surprisingly. Now, obviously, that's not possession adjusted, so it may stem from Norwich just having to defend a bit more than Liverpool, for example. But Buendia's top, followed by Ayoze Perez in second, and then Andres Pereira, if you're going to include him as a number 10. So I don't know, I thought that was interesting. Obviously, he's doing a lot without the ball, according to those numbers at least.
Yeah, well, you did touch on it. Obviously, that will be boosted by playing for Norwich. But even if you kind of were to even that out, or as you said, base it on possession, he'd still be showing quite well there. Clearly. Yeah.
So my next option would. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, I feel like I've gone first on the last couple of years. I think you should get to go first on this Salah one.
Okay, sounds. My second option anyway. I think this would be a little bit of an alternative take if we didn't get asked this question in the Q&A about 2 weeks ago. So my second option for Firmino would be Kai Havertz. 20 years old. Contract expires in 2022, so he's in that 2-year period. His output is massive, but it's decent at 10 goals and 8 assists, especially considering, again, he's 20 years old. That's a scoring contribution every 163 minutes. And obviously I mentioned that Firmino's numbers are difficult to go by and you need to use your eyes a bit more. But one thing I did look at was Europe's top 5 leagues, strikers and number 10s, just passes per 90 basically, just to see which number 10s and which strikers are actually seeing the ball often, because I think that's a crucial role for Firmino to link the play high up the field. I remember you referred to him once, Dave, as an advanced pivot.
Yeah.
I think that's quite accurate. And I looked at those, and 80 players from Europe's top 5 leagues, number 10s and strikers. I think 1,500 minutes was the cut-off points, maybe 1,000, but there was 80 players anyway, and Kai Havertz was top for passes completed per 90. So obviously he sees a lot of the ball despite playing high up the field. Versatile type of player. 6'2" as well. His vision's brilliant. Technique really, really good. Reminds me a little bit, to be honest, of Mesut Ozil. The way he plays and just the way he moves with the ball and the way he spots runs out of nowhere and stuff like that. But again, on the negative side, I'm doing negative side for every player, by the way. Should have probably doing pros and cons. But he's overpriced. I think Leverkusen mentioned talking about something like 100 million or something for the services, and I can understand why, but he's not worth that.
Did you get the opportunity to watch him against Rangers a couple of weeks ago, just before football was altered? Yeah, I did, and you could definitely see glimpses of it. But I remember thinking, I understand that was just one game, but if for figures of 100 million plus, you're kind of expecting the player to be, virtually unplayable in fixtures like that, on a regular basis. And don't get me wrong, he has been phenomenal, but I remember just watching that game, really excited because you don't get to watch a lot of them live, and I was a little bit like, I want to just see a little bit more,
Yeah, I know what you mean, like, but
Yeah.
I think from Leverkusen's perspective, when you've got a player like that, you're almost selling them not for what they are now, but for what they may become, almost. Considering he's 20, if you picture that player at 26, maybe 6 years' time, how good he could be after another 6 years of development. He could be where he wants. So I'm going first, am I, for the selling?
I think so, mate. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, well, I wanted to actually mention something on Salah, because I don't know about you, Dave. Hopefully you've realised this, but maybe you haven't. But I saw on Twitter a few months ago, someone tweeted, who do you think is the most difficult to replace? Who do you think Liverpool are going to find the most difficult to replace out of Mane, Firmino and Salah? And it was a poll, and there was votes and all stuff like that. And I think the obvious answer that comes to mind is probably Firmino, because, as I said before, he's a bit of a unicorn. But I think once you actually look at what's available, once you actually look at the players out there, for me, I think Salah is the most difficult to replace, and it's purely because he's left-footed. The criteria for this player that me and Dave have tried to find here is he must be under 26 and he must be left-footed. And once you narrow down your search to players that play with the left foot, you really do get rid of an absolute load. Thinking of top attackers now from Europe who play with the left foot: Messi, Bernardo Silva, Riyad Mahrez, Dybala, Griezmann. You're not going to get any of them, and none of them are really in the mould of Salah either, in terms, apart from maybe Mahrez, in terms of having pace, goals, left foot. He is quite a really difficult player to find replacements for, I found. And I feel like my two suggestions are nowhere near the quality of Sancho, Werner, Havertz. So I'll start with one anyway. So Samuel Chukwueze, Villarreal, 20 years old, left-footed, and he's quick, strong. 2.1 shots per 90, which is, it's not bad, I suppose, especially for a 20-year-old. About 1.4 shot assists per 90, which again, it's fine, it's decent. But his output isn't really there yet. 4 goals and 4 assists this season, with one of those posted every 203 minutes, which, again, he's 20 years old, and it's not bad, but it's not great either. I think he's still a very raw player, and he's got a contract until 2023, so he's got 3 years left on his deal. So I think he'd probably be a bit of a tricky one to get immediately, or Villarreal would be able to demand a decent fee for him. But I found it particularly difficult to find a player with Salah's goal threat and Salah's output from the right who uses his left. I don't know if you found the same problem, Dave.
I have to agree in the sense that trying to find someone to his ability, yes, definitely. It's just so hard because he's such, the position he's in his career, he's at the very highest level at the moment.
Yeah, because I think that's what we've tried to do in terms of replacing this front three. Maybe it would have been different if we were sat next to each other in the office, but the fact that we're separate, I tried to replace my front three with players that could come in immediately right now, and Liverpool wouldn't suffer a drop-off and would be able to play exactly the same way. But I found it difficult with Salah. Whereas I can see that you have maybe looked a bit more into the future.
Yeah, I was about to say my approach is probably a little bit more, adjusted, where there'd probably be an acceptance that these players aren't there yet, but could be in the coming years. But as we touched on at the top of the show, I think if we're being honest, we would have really struggled to both approach it in the same manner, because I imagine we would have just come up with the same players.
Yeah.
On that note, then I'll start with my first kind of Salah replacement, and that's Calvin Stengs of AZ Alkmaar, 21 years old. bit of a rising star actually in the Eredivisie. I mean, he's a really exciting player. He hasn't yet got the kind of output of Salah, but he's still got a noticeable output in the sense that he's taken around 2.7 shots per 90. He's left-footed, which, as Josh has just kind of pointed out, is quite difficult. But he plays on the right, left-footed. 2.7 shots per 90. Hits around 40% on target, which is very similar to Salah. I've got over the last 12 months, all comps, Salah averaging around 5.9 dribbles per 90, and Stengs is doing just over 5, so not a million miles away there. He's involved in significantly more passes, around 45 per 90, but I think a lot of that is to do with how AZ Alkmaar play. But yeah, he's got better creative numbers in terms of expected assists and passes into the penalty area. He's averaged out around over 0.2 goals per 90, and he's just a very exciting player. I think he's going to kind of maybe even make a move into Europe when the window's next open, and it'll be to a big club. It's just one kind of thing that maybe puts me off from a Liverpool point of view is I noticed his agent is now Mino Raiola.
Okay.
Yeah, who tends to just ruin any sort of negotiation, or you'll end up paying over the odds. And Liverpool, to me, I mean, off the top of my head, Josh, have Liverpool dealt with him with any recent signings?
No, I don't really recall any, to be honest. Maybe I'm missing something obvious there, but I don't think Liverpool have ever dealt with Raiola, to be honest.
And it wouldn't surprise me as well if that was an active choice. Knowing how we know how Liverpool work, I feel like they try to probably avoid working with him, which could be a stumbling block. But he's definitely a player who's, you know, albeit in a lesser league, but he's just 21 and he's kind of mirroring Salah's output in many ways, and I think he'd go on to be a really, really exciting player. Yeah,
he rings. I'll be honest, he rings a very, very small bell.
Yeah, but you see that many players' names, though, don't you? I mean, people. There's a few out there, and I won't name names, who kind of make out like, you know, they've got this ready-made database of players on the top of there, but in reality, it's not that easy.
No.
So, you know, it's one of them. You would have seen it, and there's plenty that. You know, there's plenty of others that have probably seen his name. It just hasn't registered, but he's definitely one that we should keep an eye out for, I think.
Yeah. So we'll move on to my second option, which was Raphinha, 23 years old, Rennes. I think he plays for. I have to double check that one. I'm pretty sure it's Rennes though, in the French League One. Again, left-footed. He's not the quickest accelerator, similar to Salah, but when he does reach his top speed, he is quick. He's a bit like maybe like a Bale in that regard, in terms of he doesn't reach his top speed immediately, similar to Van Dijk, I suppose. But when he does reach that top speed, very few are keeping up with him. Physical, quite aggressive and stuff like that. 9 goals this season and 5 assists, with 1 posted every 193 minutes. Again, it's okay, it's decent. It's not Mohamed Salah. It's not even close to Mohamed Salah. But it's in terms of what I'm doing, at least in terms of replacing the front three right now, so that you don't face a drop off, it is tricky. So Raphinha was one of the closest players I could find to him. To be honest, Dave, I don't know if you've seen him, but he reminded me. And I'm not just saying this because he's Brazilian, but he did remind me quite a lot of Richarlison, to be honest.
Richarlison, yeah.
Just the build, the way he runs, the way he attacks and stuff.
Yeah, no, you know what? I've only seen what appears in the data, and in terms of actual footage, I haven't seen much. So I'm kind of relying on you there to say that. But yeah, that's interesting. Bear in mind that we know how Richarlison plays and stuff. Yeah,
no, he did remind me of him, just the way he uses the ball and stuff like that. Maybe Raphinha feeds his teammates a little bit more. few long range passes, which I don't really relate with Richarlison. But yeah, he looked like a decent little player. I'm not sure he'd reach Salah's level, considering he's now 23. He's not like he's 20. So usually at the age of 23, your overall ceiling is like it's roughly in reach. So I think he'll reach a decent level. I think he can move from Rennes. Whether he'll reach a Liverpool Salah-esque level is another question. And his contract runs until 2023, so he's another like Chukwueze, where maybe in terms of negotiations, his club might have the advantage in terms of having another year before things start to get a little bit patchy. What about yourself?
So I'm interested to see what you think on this one, actually. Again, it's one of them where it's, I feel like we've used the disclaimer on every one for Salah, but we're not saying this is Salah levels at the moment, but he's a player who's been on the radar for a while now and hasn't really got that move. And it's Neres, David Neres at Ajax. Oh yeah. He's 23 now. Which feels like he's getting on a little bit, but he's still got really impressive numbers. Obviously, he plays on the right, left-footed. XG at just over 0.3 per 90. His shots are so much lower than Salah's. That's something that's really important to point out. He's been around 1.7, whereas we pointed out Salah's closer to 4 per 90. But he's accurate in those shots, just under 50% in the target. He dribbles a little bit more than Salah. He's got a little bit of a better success rate as well. But he's maybe a little bit less creative. And I don't know, what's your thoughts on him, Josh? Because one thing I've flagged here is that I feel like, obviously, we're just kind of having a scope of players now and talking about how they could potentially work at Liverpool because of X, Y, and Z. But obviously, he's been around for a while now, and do you think that there should be potential alarm bells, like maybe some analysis is being completed on him on a more granular level, and big clubs are going, you know what, he's not worth the move?
To be honest, I'd probably have to have a little bit more of a look into him, because I have seen him play plenty of times, but I don't watch the Dutch Eredivisie regularly or anything like that. And I'm not sure. Maybe he's just needs to mature a little bit more. I'd say if he gets to 25 and he's still not looking like moving, that becomes a bit of a problem. I think 23 is still largely fine, even though the best do tend to get poached from Ajax earlier than that. But yeah, he looks good to me. He looks, very athletic, transition-based type of player who thrive when the ball's loose and things like that, counter-attacks and stuff. And I wouldn't say he'd look out of place at Liverpool, to be honest. Funny enough, a player that I had a look at but I didn't include in this was another Ajax attacker who has since moved but drifted off the radar in terms of publicity. Justin Kluivert. He's actually two-footed. He's both-footed, and he's still only 20. He moved to Roma about last season or the year before or something like that. Hasn't really set the world alight, but maybe he's just not suited to that league. And
has he not been playing, Josh?
No, he's made 18 appearances in Serie A, but only 1,370 minutes. So he's probably not playing many 90s there. He's probably appearing on and off as a substitute or something like that. But as I said, he's only 20. But I don't know. He was being hailed as a real prospect, and seems to have gone quiet a little bit with him. But from a wide forward perspective, if you was to give him to Jurgen Klopp at the age of 20 when he's two-footed, he could still become something great. Him.
Yeah, no, he's spot on. There's a few of those players that sometimes get moves that don't quite work out, but they still could go on to be quite elite players. Like I kind of thought that about. Going off subject a little bit, but Malcolm, who ended up going to Barca. I thought he always had a move to another club where he could have been a success in him, but I think he ended up chasing money, didn't he, and going to Zenit. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, one other player I'd like to throw in there as well, just to maybe back myself up a little bit, because I think last season, before Nicolas Pepe had moved anywhere, I suggested that he was quite a Liverpool player, and I imagine that this season at Arsenal he's underwhelmed a lot of people. But for me, he hasn't really been that different to what I expected, to be honest. Obviously, he's still very raw and still needs to be coached into how to apply his skills better on the pitch. But what I was talking about before, in terms of how rare it is to find a Salah type player, in terms of a left-footed forward who can score goals and create goals, and he's quick. Pepe fits the mould. Pepe is one of the very few that actually fits the mould. Obviously, he's moved to Arsenal now, so that's unlikely to be a move. But if Salah didn't exist and Liverpool were after that wide forward with a left foot, I think Pepe will have been right up there. And you know, as the years move on, he's only 24. I'd expect him to improve, maybe not reach Salah's level, but I do think he's going to be better than what we've seen of him, and I do think he's still quite a unique player in terms of that left foot.
Yeah, no, I'd actually agree with that. People got to remember that not only is it quite difficult to adapt to the English game, in a stable club, but Arsenal have been really unstable. Kind of fluctuating. Emre traditionally was a terrible tactician. He'd be constantly chopping and changing several times within a game, so it's hard to kind of know how you're meant to be playing. And then the Arteta's come in now and kind of introduces his philosophy. So I think this year's just been a bit of a write-off for him, but I'm with you. He's definitely one to keep an eye on over the next year or two.
Yeah. So that would be the front three then. We will move on to basically the backup options we've got now. I think I've avoided Firmino here because Firmino's backup for me is very much Minamino. I think he's a very appropriate backup. But in terms of Mane's backup, that's Origi. And in terms of Salah's backup, that's Shaqiri. I think both of those are dispensable. Both of those likely to be sold, I think, in the next 1 or 2 seasons. So to bring in basically more Liverpool appropriate players, more Klopp type players. So if Origi was to be sold in the upcoming summer, for example, who would you get in as a Mane backup? So, a player who's basically not as good and not going to cost as much, but is more in the Klopp type mould than Origi is.
I don't know whether you'll agree with this one, but where I've put down, and I don't know if maybe I was coming at it from a different way, but I was thinking maybe just as a kind of backup for Mane, who's an improvement. I'm more in line with saying Mane was just given how he's performing recently and kind of breaking through as he's getting to a certain ages. I've gone for Harvey Barnes.
Okay.
Just because I think he's only 22, isn't he, Barnes?
I think so. Yeah, I'm not sure when his contract runs to something like that. But
yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't looked beyond that. I've just talked about really, on the pitch. He's just got really good numbers. Obviously he's had a kind of fine run in front of goal, which means he's got about 0.3 goals per 90 over the past 12 months. He's only really started playing recently though, but I just think he's a good dribbler. He's a handful. He gets a decent amount of shots on goal, and it feels like it's been a real kind of breakout campaign for them, where people are starting to take him quite serious. Obviously, he plays on the left, but I'm pretty sure off the top of my head he is right-footed. And I think he could have quite a high ceiling, actually, and maybe a little bit higher than people realise. It's just how important he is to Leicester, and if he is kind of finding this next level, would he go for cheap, or would Liverpool want to spend a high amount on a player that they'd only be potentially using as a reserve?
Yeah, I remember last season looking into the Championship a little bit, and his XG numbers were really good in the Championship. I think he was one of the top performers for West Brom. I think he was on loan at. And then when he got recalled by Leicester, I was interested to see how he do. I think he was initially a little bit quiet, but every now and then he has this big burst, doesn't he, of like a few goals or a bit of form and stuff, and he shows really what he's capable of becoming almost.
Yeah, exactly that. The system's going a little bit slow here. I'm aware that earlier those numbers that I had were kind of based on the last, oh no, it's okay. I've got the updated numbers yet. So his XG's about 0.35 per 90 this season, and he's played over 1,800 minutes, so that's not bad. And his goal return's 0.3 as well, which is I think that's pretty solid. He's also 0.3 assists, and I could be wrong. I don't watch Leicester every week, but I don't think he's taking set pieces, is he?
No,
because they got Maddison, haven't they? So that's really not a bad output for them. I've got a feeling he could go on to be quite a good player.
Yeah. My shout is again. I hope there's not too many regular listeners tuning in here, because this will be another name that they're familiar with. But for Mane's side, I do like that Milot Rashica. Werder Bremen, I've mentioned him before, 23 years old, and the thing with Werder Bremen is that they're currently second bottom of the Bundesliga, similar to Norwich in terms of likely to go down, so he should be available. His contract is inside its final 2 years. Aggressive type of player, quick over short distances, 10 goals this season and 5 assists in the Bundesliga. That's every 138 minutes, and again, that's despite playing for the relegation side. About 2.9 shots as well, 90, playing for the relegation side. About 1.5 shot assists. Only downside I could really find, considering he's probably going to be cheap, is that he does have a tendency to shoot from virtually anywhere, which is probably why he's shooting 2 times per 90. Maybe, but that's something that I think is easily coachable, to get rid of that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at his playing positions, and he fluid as well, doesn't he? Which is another bonus in terms of kind of shifting across the front line and into different positions.
Yeah, I think I'm right in saying he's played on the left, through the middle, and on the right. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so he's, as you obviously with picking him out on the left, he's predominantly plays on the left. But yeah, he looks like he's kind of played everywhere, which is a good sign of versatility.
Yeah, and then now an alternative option, if we was to get rid of Sheridan Shaqiri, a better backup option for Salah's side, which, as we've established, is quite difficult.
Yeah. So I've kind of just tried to locate a player who tends to play on the right, but left foot, I think, and isn't really a blockbuster name, but seems to be performing quite well at the moment, and that's a player called Riccardo Orsolini at Bologna.
I would look at him.
Yeah, he's looking good, isn't he? He was signed from I can't remember who he was signed from in Serie B originally, and signed for Juventus. Never played a game for them. Has gone to Bologna, and he's gone on to be like a really, really kind of good player. He's scoring 0.4 goals per 90 this season, which is impressive. He's taken a ton of shots, 2.9 per 90. And, like you were saying just then, Josh, these shots can kind of come from anywhere, but he's still scoring a lot, which is good. He's quite the dribbler, 7.4 dribbles per 90. Over 50% of them are successful. He just seems a really good player. And, Bologna in a position where they can't really keep hold of talent, given the stature club that they are. And I just wonder whether, Liverpool could swoop in on a player he's shown lots of potential, but maybe wouldn't have to be in a position to guarantee regular first team football. How old is he now? Just let me have a look. Yeah, he's only 23 as well.
Yeah.
So it's a move that could make sense.
Yeah. No, I've looked at him before, I think. Just having a look now. One player that I overlooked for the Salah position, I didn't even realise. was I didn't realise Leon Bailey was left-footed.
Yeah.
Another player of Bayer Leverkusen, 22, Jamaican. I think maybe, he usually plays on the left, despite being left-footed, so he's obviously a winger rather than an inside forward. But he's a player who would probably fit the Salah mould in terms of quick, left-footed, able to pose a threat in behind and that sort of thing. But
sorry, with Leon Bailey, am I right in saying he could have played for England internationally?
Yeah, I think there was something to do with that.
Yeah, Jamaican. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, he's one that does kind of get overlooked a little bit, but you're right to flag him.
Yeah. So, in terms of replacing Shaqiri, I tried to stick with the attacking dynamic that I mentioned at the very start. So if the front three were out and you bring in replacements, or you bring in, say for example, Salah gets injured, if you was to bring in Shaqiri, you don't have the same attacking dynamic in terms of Firmino dropping off and two wide forwards running in behind, cutting inside on the favoured foot. So I tried to stick with the left-footed thing, just so that we can keep the dynamic that we've currently got, regardless of who's playing almost. And I think the two players that I actually mentioned in terms of Raphinha and Chukwueze probably both fit a Shaqiri replacement bill as well. I think they both apply. Another player that showed up was Jadon, I think PSV, Japanese. I think they sold Hirving Lozano and they replaced him with Jadon. But he's quite an energetic player, left-footed. His output isn't great. Only 3 goals and 3 assists this season, 1,500 minutes. But he's only 21. And he was. I think Leverkusen have actually got quite a few left-footers because Moussa Diaby, is it?
Yeah.
Showed up for me as well. He's left-footed. But yeah, I think that one was quite a tricky one to find actually.
Yeah, is there any of these that you thought could, except we talk about I think Timo Werner obviously, but there's any of them that you think it could potentially happen with Liverpool? Yeah,
well that's what my front three for replacing Mane, Firmino and Salah. That was what I tried to do. I tried to basically do it as though I think these are the players that Liverpool have in almost like a shadow squad.
Yeah.
Where you compose like a first 11 behind your first 11 from players from Europe. And if, say, for example, Andy Robertson was to be sold, we have an immediate left back in mind to replace him. I think Monchi's famous for doing that. And I think a few clubs do it. I think a Liverpool front three alternative to our current front three would feature maybe Werner on the left, Havertz through the middle, and again on the right, the Salah is a tricky one. It's just a difficult one to find a left-footed player who's capable over there.
See, it's so funny, when people ask me this question, he's always kind of being the one that I've said Liverpool could afford to lose. But
yeah, that's a common one. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're saying that though, I get it. I understand the point you're trying to make there. That those factors do all play a part in it.
Because if you're playing on the right and you're right-footed, you're more likely to drive with the ball towards the corner flag or the byline than you are towards the penalty box before shooting. So you do lose a real dynamic there. And I've seen people say sell Salah and get in Sancho. Listen, Sancho has proved that he can play on either flank. So I get it to an extent, but at the same time, you would lose that left-footed, right-footed dynamic from both sides, which I think is very valuable. And I think that's one of the reasons why Liverpool's tactical, template, if you like, hasn't really been copied throughout Europe, because it's difficult to find the profiles that Liverpool have got in terms of a playmaking right back, a really industrious midfield three that can still play football, a Firmino unicorn type, a left-footed Salah who's quick and can run in behind. These players are quite rare, I think.
Yeah, that's it. You know, they are so unique that that's why it's been so difficult. Because playing three up top is not, you know, unheard of or isn't unique, you know, at elite level football. But no one seems to be able to replicate it in the same way Liverpool do, and it is down purely to the personnel that they've got.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really add much more to that, to be honest. But in terms of the listeners that are still with us, you know, can't really thank the listeners enough for tuning in and staying tuned, despite the you know, probably a lack of commuting time that's now happening, and the lack of time alone that's now happening to actually listen to podcasts. So if you're still with us, you know, thanks. Stick with us. Next week we will be reverting back to the rewatchables for a specific Liverpool match. We're not sure which one yet. And then the following week we'll be doing this same podcast, but Liverpool's midfield rather than the attack as we did today. So unless you've got anything to add, Dave?
No, I enjoyed that, mate. Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, hopefully it was an enjoyable little listen there. So thanks for joining us anyway.
Yeah, cheers everyone.
See you next week.